Here's a video on how to replace an iPhone 6 screen. As you can see here, this one's all cracked, and I'll show you how to replace that. Alright, so to replace this old screen, you don't need that many tools, and in fact there's a lot of kits out there that you can buy on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description box below the one I used. The nice thing is it comes with all the tools and products you're going to need. So first things first, you'll need a pentalobe and a flathead screwdriver, obviously very small, a little pry, so that you can get around the screen here and pull it up. Another pry bar like this is really helpful to get up some of those ribbons. And really, more anything else than that, you really don't need. I mean, the kit will come with a whole bunch of things. You might need one of these suction cup things. Some other tools do come with it, but honestly, this is all you need. And the kit really does kind of supply you with a lot of the replacement parts that you'll need, but I'll jump into specifics as we go along here. Alright, so the first part of this job is after we turn off the iPhone, we'll come to the bottom side where you can see there's two pentalobe screw heads here that we'll need to take out.
And they are the same length, so you don't need to worry about which side they go on. Just like that, those are out.
So the key to this job is organization. So now that I'm starting to take some screws out, fortunately, these are the only two pentalobe screws, and they are the same length. So I'm just going to put these aside, and what I do is you can use like an ice tray, or you can use paper and tape these on, and right next to them what they are. You just want to be very organized, because that makes the difference between a quite simple, straightforward repair and a disaster. Alright, so now the next thing that we'll want to do is remove the screen. And sometimes the kit that you'll buy will usually come with one of these suction cups so that you can put it on the screen, lift up, and then start prying around the screen. But honestly, sometimes the screen is so shattered that these don't even work. So I'm going to show you how to do it without that tool, just in case. But if you want to make it easier on yourself, you can put that on, hold this up, and then pry around. But honestly, I've had success just by kind of wedging my nail underneath there. You can see that a little bit, maybe. There's a tiny bit of space right here. And then all you gotta do is take your little pry tool, look for the thinnest side here, and then just gently, very, very gently, just kind of pry around. There's little tabs that keep the phone attached, the screen attached to the base. So as you can see, I'm starting to pull off here. And now we can go a little bit more around the other side. And just like that, we are in. Just slowly pull, very gently, because we don't want to pull. And now, once the screen is off on this bottom part, pull the screen forward. So it pulls out of these notches back here. And just like that, we are in. Okay, now something that I do, since the screen isn't, you can't just pull the screen off, what I like to do is have something, I'll show you here, behind, so that you can have the screen held up without putting too much stress on those ribbons down there. So, get that, so I'll show you that real quick. So I just have the screen leaning, because there's ribbons right here that if for some reason you wanted to reuse any parts, you just don't want to destroy anything. Okay, so here's your battery in case you want to replace that. That's a little bit more of a cumbersome job, but you can do that. But now, to remove the screen fully, we need to remove this cover plate here that covers all the electrical connections from these ribbons. And this is where you'll use the flathead screwdriver, the tiny flathead screwdriver. And all of these screws, if I remember correctly, are different sizes. So you definitely want to remember where they go.
Remember, push down as you unscrew.
Now we have that cover plate off. So just to show you what I did to keep everything organized, I just taped everything on so you can see all those screws. I poorly redrew the plate, and now when I put everything back together I can see all 5 screws that need to go in these 5 holes. Now we want to disconnect these ribbons right here. For these ribbons, think of them as Legos. They kind of click in and click out. So this little pry tool is really helpful. What you can do is just put under, get the first one, get the second one right here, 2, and then there should be one more. You can see here, this last one here, just kind of wedge. 3, oh sorry, there's 4. So as you can see, the 4th one right there. And now your old screen is out. So now most replacement kits, especially nowadays, come with a new button and cameras and the sensors and all that, so you really don't have to switch a lot of these things over from your old screen to your new screen. However, if you still want to use the Touch ID, you have to switch over the button from your original screen to your new screen, because Apple has it linked, I believe, linked from your phone to that specific button. So it'll only work with that one button. So I'm going to show you how to do that. If you want a video on how to see changing over the camera and all those earpiece and all that, I can definitely do that. But for this video, since a lot of kits today come with everything you really need besides that button, I'll show you how to do the button piece. So we won't need the rest of the phone for now, but we will need to work on our old screen. So again, on the back of the screen, so here you can see here's the front, back, we'll need to get to the button. So here's some more screws we're going to need to take out. Okay, take that metal plate away. And I believe the 2 screws that were there are the same size and length, so you don't need to stress too much about remembering where those go. And now here is the button, and it also has a little connector ribbon, so I'll need to get that ribbon off. So we'll just click that up here. That. And just gently push that button out and kind of wiggle it off. You can see there's little holes right here, this one right here, and right there that ribbon sits around, so just be careful when you're trying to take it out that it gets around those. So I'm going to work back down here. And just like that, your button is now ready to go over to your new screen. And I will make one more note. Sometimes these buttons there is an adhesive, you can kind of feel it here, that sticks around here. So if your button does not come easily off like mine did, where I could just push it through on the other side, you can use a little heat, so something like a hair dryer. I mean, obviously not too close, but just warm that area up, and then use this little pry tool or something just to work your way around and pull that off. Now let's get the new screen over and put our button on. Alright, so we have our new screen. I've already done the liberty of doing the exact same thing on that one. We're taking off the button on there so we can put on the new button here. So it's pretty straightforward. We'll just lay it in there. Try and get those holes, see here and here, to line up. And then squish that little connector down. And you'll hear it click like that. And that's it. The new button's in. Or I guess the old button's in the new screen. And now we can put our plate over and get our screws in. Now you'll notice that putting in the screws is probably the hardest part of this job because they're so tiny. So if you want to see a video on how to magnetize a screwdriver, I'll put it in the card in the top right of the screen. And because that's really going to save you bacon when you try and put these screws in and they're flying all over the place. And of course, we don't want to cross thread. If you want to see a video on how to not cross thread, check the description box below or the card above. Again, you don't need to go too tight here. You don't want to strip the screws. All right, so that plate is on. We have our button ready to go. So now we just want to get our old phone, well, I guess the old half of our phone, and hook these wires up, these little ribbons in. So it's pretty easy. I mean, as you can see here, there's these 4 spots, 1, 2, 3, and 4 that we're going to connect. And the ribbons are all a specific length. So it's pretty hard to screw this up the order of it. But anyway, let's do that. So we'll want to take our ribbon that's on the bottom of all these 4 ribbons and connect that here to the furthest up. And again, it's like Lego, so just wait for the click. Good. Okay. Now I'll go from the third from the bottom ribbon, and that one goes right here. Down till it clicks. Next one is the only ribbon that's going up and down, and that one goes right here. Line it up, push it down, and the last one goes right here. All right. So now what we'll want to do is, before we put all the screws on, this should be working. We should have everything set up so that the screen will now illuminate. So now let's put this cover down, the screen down, and hold the power button and see what it looks like. All right, so I have my screen in, my new screen. Let's see if it works. Look at that, awesome. All right, so we tested the screen's functionality, and I guess I should have also shown that you should obviously play around with the screen, make sure things are working, check the cameras and all that. But I wanted to keep this video as short and to the point as possible. So just check all the functionality before you do the rest of this, but let's proceed. Now, put that cover plate on. All right, these screws are all in. So now we can close this up. And what we'll want to do is push the phone in diagonally here. Okay, so we're gonna, here, I'll show you again. So we have the screen out, angle it, and push it up in here, like that. Okay, so it's nice and tight. And then we'll go around and just kind of push in the sides. Close them up. Okay. Once it's closed, it's got a nice lip all the way around like this. We can put in those last two pentalobe screws. And make sure your screen is flush around before you tighten these up, or else it won't go into anything. Just like that. That's how you replace a screen on an iPhone 6. And I will say, one thing about these screws is sometimes they get exposed to a lot of crud and crap, so sometimes you might need to clean them out a little bit to get a good bite on them. But yeah, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments section below. Really appreciate you watching the video. If it was helpful, like, subscribe, and share. And yeah, this video is pretty straightforward. I promise you, you can do this yourself. As you know, I'm an at-home DIYer, so I promise if this is your first time doing it, you can definitely do it. Feel free to ask questions, and if you have advice, feel free to share it below so other people can learn from either your mistakes or your successes. And yeah, thanks for watching. Check out my other videos, and see you in the next one.